Did you know that Google personalizes many searches by city and Also Asked is the only tool to access live People Also Asked data at city level? Try for free at alsoasked.com.
I was going to say that SEO with Fat Joe is as peaceful as this, but then the birds are all having fights.
Tired of SEO guesswork? Quadra's AI agent goes deeper to uncover high-impact optimizations and completes hours of SEO in minutes. Get started now.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, I knew I'd have to press super hard. Here we go. Before we get started, please allow me to introduce myself and the key facts you need to know about me for today. I am a B2B lead gen specialist, so my examples do tend to lean towards lead gen, but the principles will be applicable for e-commerce too. I'm a platinum Google Ads expert, so again, I do talk about Google Ads a lot, but a lot of this stuff will be relevant for Microsoft advertising or any other platform that you use. Arguably, most importantly, if you know me, I talk about my dog all the time. He features a lot in my slides, so please take a picture of him so he can have his 5 minutes of fame when I get home. Here we go. I'm going to press super hard. And finally, nowadays you can best find me on LinkedIn, where I'm Sophie Logan, or you can go over to Blue Sky, where I'm Marketing Soph. So you're here today because you want to know how I can help you get your PPC management skills from average to awesome. So how am I going to do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to give you a bit of context to what I believe is the difference between an average and an awesome PPC account manager. Next up, I'm going to go through the four top things that I believe can help you to get there. And I'll give you a quick summary and a link to my deck so you can sit through it and read it properly on Monday when you get back to the office. So what is the difference between an average and an awesome PPC account manager? Which sounds like the start to an awful joke, but I promise you it is not. What do I see as average? Me back in 2017, the year of Snapchat filters and puppies at the time. I was working at a marketing agency. I was a PPC lead. I went to the Google offices. I had household names. And I thought I knew absolutely everything that there was to know about PPC at the time. Then average, I was pretty much just an adequate but average marketer. And how did that look like in practice? I got great results every month. There was no nasty surprises. My clients were satisfied. I didn't get complaints. I don't want to underestimate the importance of keeping your clients happy, but that's all they were, was just satisfied. My accounts followed best practice. Reps back then actually liked me at the time because my accounts were all nicely wrapped up in a pretty little bow. And I'm not standing here to say that there is absolutely anything wrong with average. There is absolutely not, especially when you're getting great results. But we all want to be a little bit more awesome. So what do I think of when I'm talking about an awesome PPC account manager? So to me, fast forward to 2025, showing my age a little bit now, more time, more experience, speaking to more people. These are the types of principles that I see as awesome. It's someone who actually understands how the platforms work as much as they will allow us to, not just how to use them. They appreciate that, sometimes you have to be quick, but at the same time as being quick, you're not ruining that performance as well. They know that small account tweaks, a basic account structure can actually be great. They don't need to show off. And more than anything, they are driven by data, not ego or rule books. They're happy to be proven wrong or challenged. That's absolutely fine. They welcome that approach. God, I'm going to press hard. There we go. So I'm going to go through 4 ways that I think you can help to become that awesome type of PPC account manager. There is a ton more, but I could be here for the whole day. So these are my top 4. Get to grip with the I should never use this word, and I use it in the deck all the time. You know what I'm trying to say, that word which never rolls off my tongue, but it works on perfectly with smart bidding. To me, an average PPC account manager says, yeah, I use smart bidding. Of course I do. Whereas an awesome PPC account manager says, I can actually understand it. Because smart bidding is absolutely going nowhere. But as smart as it still needs someone to stand behind the steering wheel. That'd be incredible. Sit behind the steering wheel and guide it. Kind of reminds me of when you send your kids off to soft play, you put them in a great outfit, you send them off, you tell them to be good. You still have to keep an eye on them at all times. And that's the same as smart bidding. So what do I think an awesome account manager does when we're talking at smart bidding? First of all, they stop wasting their time adding bid adjustments when they're using things like max conversions. Because yes, we all want to be controlling the bids that we're using, but that's what smart bidding is for. It's choosing those signals. It's deciding how to bid. But time and time again, I audit accounts where people are still manually using bid adjustments when they're using an automated bid strategy. An account I took over recently had spent 2 months worth of hours adding manual bid adjustments to things. And when I told them that smart bidding is doing that and it's ignoring it, their face absolutely dropped. They didn't realize that at all. Caught them out on that one. Yes, your ad schedule, as Google says, will be respected, which I think is a great use, respected. If you're adding bid adjustments to that, it's not going to be taken into consideration. There's a lot of arguments about this. I see it on LinkedIn all the time. We can only go with what's the official guidance, and this is what Google is saying. Max clicks does give you a lot of wiggle room. Device, yeah, you got a little bit there. You know, if you're doing it for like ad scheduling and demographics like the agency was, you're just wasting your time. They're not afraid to use portfolio bidding. How many times have you set it up and you've got that misconfiguration message and you're like, well, what's misconfigured? I don't understand. I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe it's time to try it again. Because the benefit of using portfolio bidding is that you can use something like target CPA whilst also using, as you can see down here, a minimum bid limit or a maximum bid limit. You don't have to choose between one or the other. Gone are the days when portfolio bidding was really confusing. It's really simple. It really helps you. So if this is something that you need to be keeping an eye on, then get back into using it. Most importantly, an awesome PPC account manager knows that rubbish in, rubbish out. This system can only work based on the data that you're feeding it. You need to give it accurate, reliable, and sufficient data so that it can actually do the job that it's supposed to do. So stop blaming the robot if it's you that's been using unreliable date range. You know, for example, we had a PR crisis, so our traffic quadrupled. Well, that's an unreliable date range. The system doesn't understand that. Inaccurate tracking, again, if you're using your site page views as primary conversions, that's your fault. You can't blame smart bidding. And again, if you're using unsuitable conversion windows, you know, it takes 180 days, for example, for my leads to actually convert. I need to be telling the system that. To me, an average PPC account manager uses vanity metrics, and this is what I mean by that. Well, I don't mind, clicks and conversions are high. It's great, right? No, and again, I'm not trying to underestimate that that's not great, but an awesome manager actually looks a little bit detailed and they say, actually, I have a great lead to sale rate. I'm looking at it further. This is about changing the mindset a little bit more. It's thinking about going, oh, I've got the click, I've done my job. And actually, am I bringing value to the business? Am I bringing the business what they need? Because I could generate 20,000 clicks for the Bohurst website, for example, and I can tick that box. But if none of them fill out a form or become a customer, what is the point? Because by doing this, you can more accurately report on the value of your PPC. Again, what's the clicks matter if I've not made any money for the business? My bosses aren't going to be very happy. There we go. And you can also optimize them more efficiently for what the business needs. A lot of the time I see people panic when their cost per click goes up, but at the same time, they're not realizing that the quality of their leads are going up. They're focusing on the wrong metrics. Like, oh, I've paid £1.20 for that click. What does it matter if you've got a great conversion from it and you've got a contract value worth 20, 30 grand? That pennies and pounds that you've spent means nothing. So for this one, I'd suggest to think of these 3 questions. Why am I even running a PPC campaign in the first place? I think we all kind of think that at times, but you know, what do the campaign actually need to do to bring value to the business? And when you've got that in your head, what KPIs can I set? Again, we're thinking less about ad engagement, moving away from clicks, impressions, reach, and actually thinking about what is driving cold hard cash into the business of your business or your clients. And with the final question is, how can I communicate this with the stakeholders? Because if you've optimized your campaigns for the past 10 years on getting low CPC, all of a sudden your CPC goes up, but your lead volume goes up. I tell you what, your stakeholders will be looking at that CPC and they'll be worried and confused. An awesome PPC account manager can say to them, this is why I'm doing it, and this is bringing value to the business. My third recommendation is to calm down on those negative keywords and start tightening up your structure. How I see this in practice, this was me in 2017. Every morning I would be on the computer going through search term reports, adding negative keywords frantically. It's the only way I can actually control the account. Whereas an awesome PPC account manager goes, yeah, you know what, my structure, my targeting, that is what's getting me with the results. It's not adding those negative keywords every single morning. It's what I used to do. 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. It's getting higher. I'm not saying that negative keywords aren't important. Of course I'm not. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be using them to control our performance. We shouldn't be using them and relying on them on the way that I see people do. Again, I see accounts where they're using one broad match for software, just software, and then they're having to use like 3 or 4, 5,000 word negative keyword list to try and control it. Where's the logic in that? Why are you using broad for software? It makes absolutely no sense. And we all know that broad just keeps on getting broader. So what can we do about it? Stag. Yes, single theme ad groups. I talk about these all the time. I know I'm here at HeroConf, so be thinking, Sophie, that's so basic, obviously. Yes, well, are you actually using them for more than your keywords? Because again, I see this happen a lot. How about making sure that it flows through your ad copy, for your extensions or assets, whatever you like to call them nowadays, your landing page, your call to action, the nurture flow that you're sending people through. Make sure it all is relevant and has the right intent that people are looking for. It's not just about the keywords, it's about the whole process. And as we're talking about those keywords, try and think about keywords which are based on relevance and intent, and is the right. It's very easy to see keyword planner and say, oh, that is going to cost me 10p. That's great. Let's stick it in my plan. But, what's the point if it doesn't match to what we actually need it to be using? So sit there, as boring and as basic as it sounds, sit there and say, if I was searching that keyword, would I be actually interested in the product or service that I'm trying to sell? It's a simple thing, but we get so driven by data that we forget about that type of thing. And when it comes to targeting, yes, control what you need. Use an ad schedule. As I said earlier, they do exist. You can use them. Use your stag. Exclude your current customers. Those things are great. But an awesome PPC account manager knows that nowadays we need to let off those reins a little bit and let the system do the rest. I know it's super hard. I'm a control freak, especially with my PPC accounts, but we need to let the systems do their thing. And if you've set up your account in a way which you feel confident in doing so, it should perform a lot better. It takes time to do it, but you'll feel a lot confident in the end. And yes, I've probably contradicting everything I've just said here, but people are still using Skag. But you know what? An awesome PPC account manager knows that sometimes the craziest things actually work for them, and they'll keep using them. The difference is that those awesome PPC account managers aren't complacent. They keep an eye on that account, and they know that one day if that account all of a sudden changes, they need to revise, re-strategize, and do something different. So Skag can work, but they keep an eye on it and they know it's not going to work forever. My final suggestion is to think a little bit more about the long term. Average, again, me back with Dexter as a puppy, 2017, is I always had a task list for the next month and probably the next month, perfectly set out in Monday, and it'd be over here and on paper. You could always find out what I was doing in the next week. I had that task list. Whereas an awesome PPC account manager thinks a little bit more about, well, what do I actually want to achieve next quarter, 6 months, next year, maybe even further than that. They're always thinking about what's coming up next and how they're going to get there. Because you can have the best KPI goals, campaigns, ideas in the world, but if you've actually not got a plan for your plan, it's not going to get you anywhere. So an awesome PPC account manager can confidently say, I know what I want to achieve. Again, for me, it's always improving that conversion rate. That's what I need to do. And I know what I'm going to do, what I need to do to get there. I need to improve my landing pages. I've not touched those in 12 months. My targeting methods are crap. I'm getting a lot of unnecessarily and irrelevant leads in. And they also know how they're going to get there. And this is the key point that they had, the strategic thought. They're thinking about, oh gosh, well, actually, I need to audit the accounts. Then I need to look at my targeting, look what's working, what's not working, build some new landing pages, speak to a CRO, speak to content. They are able to pull it all together and bring that plan into fruition. They have the what, they have the how, and they have the when. And at the same time, yeah, there he is. At the same time, they've also got their ear to the ground. They're listening to new features, new tools, new announcements, because they know that they're either going to come and affect their accounts today, tomorrow, or eventually in the future. Because an awesome PPC account manager is not only future-proofing their own career, which is, of course, very important, but also future-proofing their accounts as well. The best strategists across any marketing discipline, SEO, PPC, PR, are always the type of people who are thinking, what's next, where can I go? It's not just about keeping the lights on or the clock's turning, they're always thinking about what's to come. So in summary, to me, an awesome PPC account manager actually understands smart bidding. They know you can't add those bids adjustments in. They focus on the metrics that truly count and bring value, which, let's say, be honest, value is always cold hard cash to the businesses that they're working for. They know that success starts with a strong account structure, and they don't rely on those negative keywords to get the job done. They set goals and they strategize how they are going to achieve them. And also, I know it sounds so cheesy to have one last thing, but there is one last thing which over the past 10 years that I've come to realize is if you actually want to become an awesome PPC account manager, is that you actually need to sit, talk to, and learn from your PPC peers. You've got to drop the ego, forget about the agency feuds, forget about, I don't need any help, I can do it all on my own, I don't need someone to look at my account for me or ask them a question. That has all got to go, because you will go so much further in your PPC career, get such better results if you do things like what you're doing today, sit here, listening and learning from other people, PPC specialists. So thank you to Brighton SEO for bringing HeroConf back to the UK. I think we desperately needed it. And thank you to all the speakers today and tomorrow, because I can tell you as a speaker myself, the only thing that I want to help you with is actually become a better PPC account manager. So thank you so much for having me. I'm always on LinkedIn. That's my place now. Sorry, X, you ruined yourself. I'm over on Blue Sky. And you can also find my deck on Speaker Deck at marketingSoph. LinkedIn should be pinging out a post right now, but who knows if it's doing it. But I will be around at lunchtime for questions. I will also be at Patton's Bar later, so it's probably best to get me later on. I've got a gin and tonic in my hands. But it's been a privilege to speak to you all. Thank you so much.